We were raised on the west side of Chicago. My father, we had a two-flat building, and as we outgrew it, we moved to the south side of Chicago. My name is Reginald Hiram Jackson, and I am associate pastor of Rehoboth Apostolic Worship Center under the leadership of District Elder Yolanda M. Hunt. Yolanda M. Hunt is my sister. Growing up in a large family, 14 siblings, there was a lot of activity all the time. And Yolanda, who was kind of a tomboyish young lady, and I fought physically many times, never thinking that, years later she would be my pastor. Early on, she liked to kind of be in leadership, kind of be in charge. And so throughout our childhood, most times we would be fighting. My mother would be like sewing on the side, and we'd be fighting. And because my father always taught me don't hit girls, she had the upper hand, so she could hit me in my stomach or whatever, and I couldn't do certain things because my dad was like, I'm gonna get you. And when she was called into ministry, I really did not see that coming. And it was ironic that when my father had decided to retire from pastoring because of his health, and he was trying to make a decision who was next in line because he knew he couldn't do it forever. Yolanda had come to our church as an administrator, just came over from another church to kind of help the ministry. And it's been 10 years since she's been pastoring. It has not always been easy, but it's been progressive and it's been good. I'm sure she's had many battles, dealing with people, but God has sustained her. If you delight thyself in the Lord, He'll give you desires of your heart. And I really believe that her delight is in God.
Went before God, and as you know, it fought my mind quite a bit because of thinking in terms of people say, that's your daughter, or that's your family. But you had to fight that out of your mind, because I want definitely to be led of the Lord. I didn't want to take anything up on myself, and I taught myself time and time again, what, Lord, what must I do? And God led me at the time to speak to my bishop, which was Bishop Brazier. So I told him what God had done in my heart concerning the battle. He says, who did you? I said, the Lord knew my heart, Bishop, was my Yolanda Hunt. And he looked at me and jumped. He says, that's the one.
We used to talk about who would come behind him, and that name never came up. So when he revealed who the Lord had given to him, I felt a peace that was what God wanted. I felt a peace. Because of her ability, she had been an evangelist going throughout the country preaching, and so she had the ability and she loved God. She had praise and worship. This church always was a church of praise and prayer that we grew up in. So she has that same ministry. So the church goes on with praise, prayer, and loving God.
I met Pastor Hunt when she was evangelist, Yolanda Hunt, in the early 90s. And ironically, long before she decided to accept the call as pastor, she pastored me even as an evangelist. My name is Minister Jewel Gaskin. I am an associate minister here at Rehoboth Apostolic Worship Center, and I've been a member for 8.5 years. When I was less mature in my spiritual walk, I'd complain and bellyache and moan, and while she would listen to my complaints, she always redirected me in handling the things in the God way and making sure that I respected my leadership as God required. And after sitting under her as pastor, she has just continued to help cultivate me as a minister. If there was one thing that I could say, was to say to Pastor Hunt that I love you, I appreciate you, I thank you for your patience, I thank you for your endurance, your wisdom, and your sound teaching, and again, I love you.
Pastor Hunt is a soldier, and I believe that's why the Lord led me here. I have a military background. My name is Elder Rod Booker. I am a minister here at Rehoboth Apostolic Worship Center, serving under Pastor Yolanda Hunt. And she's a soldier, not just an ordinary soldier, she's a general. in the army of the Lord. And I needed that to be disciplined. I needed that for integrity. I needed that for obedience. And I believe because of what people think of how leadership is when it comes to pastoral as a female, that the Lord wanted me to show me that this is who I have for you to serve under. And when I came here, because I didn't know anything about having a female pastor, and when the Lord directed me here, and I saw that she was a soldier, and she's one of the best soldiers in God's army, and I'm proud to serve her as one of her leaders as well. If I serve her, I can go to war for her and go to war with her in the kingdom of God.
With us coming to Rehoboth Apostolic Worship Center, I had heard of evangelist Yolanda Hunt from 1996 in St. Louis, Missouri at one of our women's retreats. And I was invited for the first time to attend a retreat, and the theme was Abounding Love. And that is where I met Pastor Hunt. Who would have ever imagined that after almost 18 years from that point to this, that I would be sitting under Pastor Yolanda Hunt's leadership? She is a true worshiper. She speaks the word, she lives the word, she obeys the word, and she teaches the word. And that is what the scriptures tell us in the Old and the New Testament, to do it all unto the Lord, mind, heart, soul, and with strength.
As a child, she definitely equipped us with some great skills, both naturally and spiritually. Just from even your basic, I mean, things like, people probably don't think my mother can cook because they don't hear about it often, but she can. So things like cooking, cleaning, balancing finances, valuing education, you knew from as soon as you could say school that college was a requirement. Spiritually, my mother's been in ministry all of my life, literally, since I've been here. So I've never known her being anything other than serving in ministry, be it at the local church level, being a traveling evangelist. That's all I've ever known. So of course, there were some really difficult times as a child because she was quite strict, from the we don't play secular music, you don't go to school dances, to the laundry list of things that seemed like a lot as a child. But growing up, you learn to value and can really appreciate that godly household example of how to live godly before God. She wasn't just one way at church and differently at home. She was that way all the time. Be it from praying at home, saying, take our time, go think, go to your room, think, go to your room, pray. To the point where I almost thought prayer was a punishment, but realized as I got older that it was not, and just being instilled with those values. Mom, I love you dearly. You're the greatest mom ever. I didn't have a choice in choosing you, but I'm really glad that God gave you to be my mother. You're the best, and just excited as I'm now an adult with you, growing into adulthood together, the both of us, both naturally, like I said, and definitely working in ministry together. So really excited about that. Love you, ma'am. You're the greatest.